The old forest loomed like a forgotten dream, its ancient trees clawing at the sky with gnarled fingers. Mist wove through their roots, thick as a shroud, and the air thrummed with whispers older than the tongues of elves. Frodo Baggins stumbled over a twisted root, his heart hammering as the path vanished beneath his feet. Behind him, Samwise Gamgee gripped his pack, his eyes darting to the shadows. Merry and Pippin trailed close, their breaths sharp in the oppressive silence. The forest was no mere wood, it was alive, its will pressing against them, urging them to turn back. "Mr. Frodo, this place doesn't like us," Sam muttered, his voice barely a whisper. "It's as if the trees are watching." Frodo's fingers brushed the ring in his pocket, its cold weight heavier than ever. The forest's malice was a tangible force, older than Sauron's craft, deeper than the roots of the mountains. Every step felt like defiance, every rustle a warning. The hobbits pressed on, but the path twisted, leading them in circles. Shadows danced in the mist, and a low groan echoed from the trees as if the forest itself were waking. Suddenly a sound pierced the gloom, a voice clear and merry, singing words that sparkled like sunlight on water. "Hey Dol, merry Dol, ring-a-dong dillo, bright day, come play by the Withywindle's flow." The hobbits froze, their fear suspended by the strangeness of the song. From the mist stepped a figure, absurd yet radiant. A man in a blue jacket, yellow boots splashing through the leaves, a feathered hat bobbing atop his head. His beard was brown as rich earth, his eyes gleamed like the river at dawn, and his smile was warmer than a shire hearth. This was Tom Bombadil, master of wood, water and hill, though none could name what manner of being he was. "Who's that?" Pippin whispered, half in awe, half in fear. Tom's gaze met Frodo's, and for a fleeting moment the ring's pull faded, as if its power were but a child's fancy. "Old Tom's been watching you, my lads," he called, his voice a cascade of bells. "Lost your way, have you? Come, follow the song, and we'll see you safe by the Withywindle." The hobbits hesitated, their feet rooted to the earth. The forest's menace pulsed around them, but Tom's melody seemed to hold it at bay. As they followed, the trees parted their branches, bowing like courtiers before a king. Frodo glanced back, half expecting the path to vanish. What power could command such a place where even the ring seemed small? The air grew lighter, the mist thinner, and the Withywindle's gleam appeared ahead, a ribbon of silver winding through the wood. Tom led them to a clearing where the river sparkled under dappled light. "Rest here, my friends," he said, tossing his hat onto a stump. "But mind the river's tricks and old Willow's temper." His laugh was bright, yet his words carried a warning that chilled Frodo's spine. The hobbits sat their packs heavy, their minds racing. The forest's whispers grew louder, and a shadow stirred in the roots of a great willow by the water's edge. Something ancient and hungry was waking, and Tom's song was its only leash. Sam glanced at the willow, its branches swaying without wind. "What's he mean by Willow's temper?" he asked, his voice low. Frodo shook his head, his hand straying to the ring. The forest was no friend to them, but Tom. Bombadil was no ordinary guide. His song lingered in the air, a thread of light in the gathering dark. What perils lay ahead in this strange realm, where even the trees obeyed a singing fool? And what secrets did Tom hold, dancing through the mist, as if time itself were his plaything? Read on to uncover the dangers that await the hobbits and the mystery of Tom Bombadil's power in the heart of the old forest. The Withywindle glittered like a vein of starlight, its waters singing softly as the hobbits rested in the clearing. Frodo leaned against a mossy stone, the ring's weight a constant shadow on his heart. Sam, Merry and Pippin sprawled nearby, their eyes heavy with the forest's strange weariness. The air was warm, the light golden, yet an unease lingered, as if the trees themselves were listening. The great willow by the river loomed over them, its branches drooping like a predator's claws, its roots twisting into the earth like serpents. "Something's not right," Sam whispered, his gaze fixed on the willow. "It's too quiet." Merry nodded, his hand straying to his dagger. "This place feels hungry." Before Frodo could reply, a low hum rose from the willow, a sound like a groan of ancient malice. The air grew heavy, the light dimmed and the hobbit's eyelids drooped. Pippin yawned, slumping against the tree's trunk, his head lolling. Merry followed his dagger slipping from his grasp. Frodo fought the drowsiness, but his limbs felt leaden, his mind clouded. Only Sam resisted, shaking his head as if to clear a fog. "Mr. Frodo!" Sam cried, stumbling to his feet. "Wake up!" But Frodo could not answer. The willow's roots stirred, coiling around Pippin's legs, dragging him toward a gaping crack in its trunk. Merry vanished into the same dark maw, his cry muffled. Frodo's hand clutched the ring, its cold fire offering no aid. Sam lunged forward, pounding the tree with his fists, but the bark was unyielding as stone. The willow's branches lashed out, pinning Sam to the ground, its hum now a triumphant snarl. "Old Man Willow," a voice rang out bright as a trumpet. "Cease your mischief, you greedy old root." Tom Bombadil strode into the clearing, his yellow boots splashing in the shallows, his hat tilted jauntily. His song rose like a spring breeze weaving through the willow's drone. "Sleep now, old willow, by the river's flow. Let these lads go, or Tom'll make you know." The words were nonsense, yet they carried a weight that made the air shimmer. The willow shuddered its branches, recoiling as if struck by lightning. The crack in its trunk snapped shut, spitting Merry and Pippin onto the grass. Sam scrambled free, gasping as the roots retreated into the earth. Frodo blinked, the fog lifting from his mind. "Tom," he cried, his voice hoarse. What was that?" Tom laughed, his eyes twinkling like the Withywindle's ripples. "Just old Willow, my lad, with a temper as old as the hills. He's fond of tricks, but Tom's songs are older still." He clapped his hands, and the forest seemed to sigh, its malice fading like mist in the sun. The hobbits staggered to their feet, their hearts pounding, their eyes wide with wonder. "How'd you do that?" Merry asked, brushing dirt from his cloak. "That tree was alive." Tom winked, tossing a pebble into the river. "Alive? Oh, aye, but so's the wind and the water, and old Tom himself. Come, lads, to my house. We'll go where Goldberry waits with fire and bread. No more tricks tonight." His song resumed a merry tune that made the leaves dance, and the hobbits followed their fear, melting under its warmth. As they left the clearing, Frodo glanced back at the willow, its branches still. The ring in his pocket felt strangely light, as if Tom's presence had dulled its fire. What power could tame a forest's wrath with a song? And what lay ahead in the house of this strange master, where even the trees bowed to his will? Follow the hobbits to Tom's house and discover what secrets await in the heart of the old forest. The house of Tom Bombadil glowed like a lantern in the twilight, its stone walls draped in ivy, its windows spilling golden light. Inside, the air was warm with the scent of fresh bread and honey. Goldberry. The river daughter moved like a melody, her laughter mingling with the crackle of the fire. Frodo sat at a wooden table, his hands wrapped around a mug of cider. The ring, a cold weight in his pocket. Sam, Merry and Pippin ate heartily, their earlier fears softened by the house's comfort. But Frodo's mind lingered on the forest's shadows. Tom sat across from them, his hat hung on a peg, his eyes bright as polished stones. "Tell me, my lads," he said, leaning forward, "what brings you wandering through old Tom's woods? Speak plain, for the night is kind and Goldberry's listening." Frodo hesitated, the ring's presence a whisper in his mind. He glanced at Sam, who nodded encouragement. "We're on a journey," Frodo began, his voice low, "a dangerous one. There's something I carry. Something precious." Tom's gaze sharpened, though his smile remained. "Precious, you say? Show me this trinket. Frodo, lad, old Tom's seen many things bright and dark." To Frodo's astonishment, his hand moved unbidden, drawing the ring from its chain. The hobbits gasped, their forks clattering. Even Sam, ever watchful, stared as Frodo held the golden band aloft. The ring, forged in the fires of Mount Doom to bend the mightiest wills, gleamed in the firelight. Yet in Tom's house its malice seemed muted like a flame under glass. Tom took the ring, his fingers light as a breeze. He held it to the candle, turning it this way and that, as if it were a curious stone. Then with a chuckle he slipped it onto his finger. Frodo braced for darkness, for the shadows that cloaked all who wore the ring. But nothing happened. Tom stood unchanged, his blue jacket bright, his laughter ringing. The ring, Sauron's masterwork was but a bauble in his hand. Tom Pippin blurted his eyes wide. "You're still here?" "Aye, lad!" Tom laughed, spinning the ring in the air. It vanished with a flash, only to reappear in his palm. He leaned toward Frodo, his eyes gleaming. "Try it yourself, Frodo, lad. Let's see this game of hiding." Frodo hesitated, then slipped the ring onto his finger. The world shifted, shadows cloaking him from mortal sight. He stepped back, expecting to vanish, but Tom's gaze followed him sharp as a hawk's. "Come now, lad," Tom called his voice. "Merry. No hiding from old Tom. Take off that ring and let's have no more tricks." Frodo removed the ring, his heart racing. The hobbits stared, their mouths agape. "How did you see me?" Frodo asked, his voice trembling. "The ring. It makes me invisible." Tom winked, handing the ring back with a smile. "Invisible not to eyes that see true, my lad. That trinket's a fine thing, but old Tom's older, and his sight's clear as the Withywindle." He clapped his hands, and Goldberry's laughter filled the room, breaking the tension. Sam leaned close to Frodo, whispering, "He's no ordinary man, Mr. Frodo. That ring's dangerous, but to him it's nothing." Frodo nodded, slipping the ring back into his pocket. Its weight returned, but in Tom's house its pull was faint, like a whisper drowned by song. What manner of being could treat Sauron's greatest work as a child's toy? And what other powers did this merry master hold in a world where even wizards bowed to the ring's might? Unravel the mystery of Tom's power, read on to see what lies beyond the firelight. The Barrow-downs stretched under a sky heavy with clouds, their ancient mounds cloaked in mist. The hobbits trudged through the grass, their cloaks damp, their hearts uneasy. The old forest had been perilous, but this place was worse, a land of forgotten kings where the air tasted of sorrow. Frodo led the way, the ring a constant burden, while Sam scanned the hills, his hand on his dagger. Merry and Pippin lagged behind their voices, hushed as if fearing to wake the dead. "These barrows give me the shivers," Pippin said, glancing at a stone circle atop a hill. "Like something's watching." Merry nodded, his face pale. "Old tales say these hills are haunted. Rangers avoid them." Frodo said nothing, but the ring's weight seemed to grow with each step. The mist thickened, curling around their ankles, and a cold voice whispered on the wind, sharp as a blade. The hobbits froze their breaths, catching. Shadows moved in the fog, and a chill seeped into their bones, paralyzing them. Before they could react, the ground seemed to swallow them, and darkness closed in. Frodo awoke in a barrow, his wrists bound by icy chains. Sam, Merry, and Pippin lay beside him, their faces pale as death. A faint green light pulsed from a stone slab where a skeletal hand clutched a sword. A voice, cold as the grave, chanted words of ancient malice, and Frodo's heart quailed. These were Barrow-wights, remnants of Angmar's dark arts, their curses woven by the Witch King's will. The ring burned in Frodo's pocket, but its power offered no escape. The Wights' chant grew louder, its blade rising. Frodo struggled, his voice a desperate whisper. "Tom, Tom Bombadil." As if summoned, a song broke the darkness, bright as a star in the void. "Old Tom Bombadil's coming, wights, beware. Back to your barrows, leave the light's air." The barrow trembled, the green light flickering. Tom strode in his yellow boots, gleaming his voice, a tide of joy. The wight shrieked its form, unraveling like smoke. The chains fell away, and the hobbits stirred their eyes wide with awe. Tom Merry gasped, scrambling to his feet. "How did you find us?" Tom laughed, his hat tilted rakishly. "Old Tom's feet know the hills, my lad. These wights are old, but Tom's older, and his songs are stronger than their curses." He clapped his hands, and the barrow's gloom vanished. Sunlight streaming through a crack in the stone. The hobbits stumbled out, blinking in the dawn, their hearts pounding. Sam rubbed his wrists, his voice low. "Those things, they were like Nazgul, but worse. How'd you chase them off with a song?" Tom winked, tossing a pebble into the grass. "Songs, my lad, are older than swords. They carry the world's heart if you sing true." He led them down the hill, his melody weaving through the mist, and the barrows fell silent, their shadows retreating. Frodo glanced back, the ring heavy once more. The wights had been terrors of legend, yet Tom had banished them with ease. What power could unravel the dark arts of Angmar with a tune? And what did it mean for the ring, if even its maker's allies fled before this merry master? Venture deeper into Tom's realm, read on to uncover the fears that haunt even the Dark Lord. In the black heart of Barad-dûr Sauron sat enthroned his will, a shadow stretching across Middle-earth. The One Ring. His greatest work pulsed in his mind, its fire bound to his own. From Mordor's gates his armies marched, and in the Palantiri he saw the world bend to his design. Yet one place defied his sight, a small realm where his power faltered, the old forest, where Tom Bombadil sang beneath the trees. Sauron turned his gaze westward. The Palantir before him clouded with mist. The forest's borders were a riddle, its paths twisting beyond his will. He sent orcs to probe its edges, but they returned bewildered, their trails looping back to the Shire. Trolls wandered in circles, their minds dulled by unseen songs. Even the Nazgûl, his most dreaded servants, shied from the Withywindle's gleam, their horses rearing at its borders. "What is this place?" Sauron hissed, his voice a furnace of rage. The Palantir flickered, showing only leaves and light, as if the forest mocked his sight. He poured his will into the ring, seeking its echo. But in Tom's realm it was silent, like a flame snuffed out. The Dark Lord, who had seduced Númenor and broken the elven smiths, felt a chill no fire could warm. Long ago, in the Second Age, Sauron had tested the forest's strength. He sent emissaries cloaked in fair guise, bearing gifts of power, but their words dissolved in Tom's laughter. He unleashed dark energies to taint the land, but the Withywindle ran clear its waters, singing of joy. He crafted spells to bind the trees, but they swayed to Tom's tunes, their roots unmoved. Every attempt failed, not through resistance but through irrelevance, as if his power were a shadow cast on water. In his tower, Sauron recalled Ungoliant, the great spider who had devoured the two trees and defied Morgoth himself. She was a force of unmaking, a hunger beyond control. Tom was her opposite, a being of pure being, untouched by corruption. His songs, a thread of the world's first music. To Sauron, who lived for dominion, such a power was unthinkable, a note that shattered his ordered world. He turned from the Palantir, his mind troubled. The ring could sway kings, twist wizards, and bind nations, but in Tom's hands it was nothing. The forest was no fortress, yet it stood unbreached. Sauron, who dared challenge the valor, routed his armies around this small realm, avoiding the merry fool who sang of rivers and stars. For in Tom's joy he saw not defeat, but irrelevance, a truth that shook the foundations of his throne. In the old forest, Tom danced unaware of the Dark Lord's dread. His songs wove through the trees, a melody older than time. Sauron's shadow stretched long, but it could not touch the Withywindle's light. What power could defy the Dark Lord's will with such ease? And what did it mean for the ring if its maker feared a singing man? Seek the source of Sauron's fear, read on to hear the songs that shake the world. The stars burned bright above the old forest, their light dancing on the Withywindle's ripples. In Tom Bombadil's house the hobbits sat by the fire, their bellies full, their hearts warmed by Goldberry's songs. Frodo gazed into the flames, the ring a quiet weight in his pocket. Sam dozed his head, nodding, while Merry and Pippin listened to Tom's tales of trees that walked, rivers that laughed, and hills that sang before the world was young. Tom stood by the window, his silhouette framed by starlight. "Sing us a song, my lads," he said, his voice bright, "or shall old Tom sing for you?" Without waiting, he began his words, weaving a melody that seemed to pulse with the earth's heartbeat. "Ho, Tom Bombadil by the water's flow, sings of days when stars were young and rivers did glow before the sun, before the moon. The world was free, and songs were sung by hill and tree in harmony." The hobbits listened spellbound. The song was nonsense, yet it carried a weight that stirred Frodo's soul. He saw visions in the fire, great beings of light weaving music, shaping mountains and seas. The Ainur, perhaps, whose songs had formed Ea under Ilúvatar's will. Tom's voice was a thread of that music, ancient and unbroken, untouched by Morgoth's discord. Tom Frodo said, his voice soft, your songs. They feel older than Gandalf's tales, older than Rivendell's lore. Who are you? Tom laughed, his eyes twinkling like the stars outside. Who, why, Tom? Bombadil, eldest and merriest. I was here when the rivers were born, when the trees first stretched their roots. Ask not who, Frodo lad, but listen and be. He clapped his hands, and Goldberry joined the song, her voice a silver chime that made the walls hum. Sam stirred, rubbing his eyes. That song, Mr. Frodo. It's like the world's waking up in my head. Merry nodded, his voice hushed. It's as if he's part of the earth, like the hills or the river. Frodo said nothing, but his mind raced. Gandalf wielded power with staff and word, Elrond with wisdom and ring. Yet Tom's strength was in his being, a joy that needed no crown, a song that needed no spell. The ring, which had tempted even Boromir, lay silent in his pocket, its fire dimmed by the house's light. Was Tom a Mire like Gandalf, or something older, a fragment of the world's first dawn? Goldberry smiled, her eyes meeting Frodo's. He is the master, she said, her voice soft as the river. No more, no less. His songs are his strength, and the forest his home. Tom spun his boots, tapping the floor. Enough questions, my lads. The night is young and the stars are bright. Sing with old Tom, or sleep till light. His laughter filled the room, and the hobbits joined in their voices, clumsy but warm. The song wove on a melody that seemed to echo beyond the walls into the heart of the forest. Frodo lay awake that night, the ring cold against his chest. Tom's song lingered a riddle without answer. If the Ainur had sung, the world was Tom, a note of that music untouched by time. And what did it mean for their quest if even Sauron's ring bowed to such a song? Hear the echoes of Tom's song read on to uncover the enigma of his being. Dawn broke over the old forest, its light filtering through the trees like a golden hymn. The hobbits stood outside Tom Bombadil's house, their packs heavy, their hearts lighter than they had been in days. Goldberry waved from the doorway, her hair shimmering like the Withywindle's flow. Tom stood beside them, his hat tilted, his eyes bright as the morning. The ring in Frodo's pocket was a familiar weight, but in Tom's realm its whisper was faint, like a dream half forgotten. "You've a long road ahead, my lads," Tom said, his voice warm, "but keep your hearts high and your feet steady. Old Tom's songs will linger even beyond the forest's edge." Frodo nodded, his gaze lingering on the Withywindle. "Thank you, Tom, for everything, the willow, the barrows, the ring. I don't understand you, but I'm grateful." Tom laughed, tossing a pebble into the river. "Understand? No need for that. Frodo, lad, be merry, be true, and the world will sing with you. Now off you go before the hills grow restless." He clapped his hands and a breeze stirred, carrying the scent of moss and water. Sam adjusted his pack, his eyes soft. "I'll not forget this place, Mr. Frodo, nor him." Merry and Pippin nodded, their voices mingling. "He's like a tale come to life," Merry said. "A song that never ends," Pippin added. The hobbits turned their steps light as they followed the path. The forest seemed to guide them now, its branches parting, its whispers soft. Frodo glanced back, and there was Tom dancing by the river, his song a thread of light in the morning mist. "Hey, doll, merry doll," he sang, and the Withywindle sparkled as if laughing with him. As the hobbits left the forest, the ring's weight returned, its fire stirring. Frodo's heart grew heavy, but Tom's song echoed in his mind, a shield against despair. The old forest faded behind them, but its master remained a riddle wrapped in joy. Was he a guardian of the world's youth, a note of Ilúvatar's music, or simply Tom, eldest and merriest? Frodo could not say, but he felt the truth in his bones. Tom Bombadil was a stream that flowed beyond Sauron's reach, beyond even the Valar's sight. In Barad-dûr, Sauron's eye turned away from the forest, his mind troubled. The ring would return its fire undimmed, but Tom's realm was a light he could not touch. The Dark Lord's shadow stretched long, but it broke at the Withywindle's edge, where a merry fool sang of rivers and stars. The struggles of Middle-earth rings, wars and thrones were but ripples on Tom's stream, fleeting and small. Frodo walked on the Shire ahead. Mordor beyond the ring was his burden, but Tom's song was his strength, a melody that whispered of hope in the old forest. Tom danced his boots, splashing his voice, eternal. The world turned, but he remained a mystery, older than time, singing forever in the heart of the wood. Tom's tale ends, but his song lingers. Explore more of Middle-earth's mysteries and let the music guide your journey.